years ago, I stayed up late in my Chicago hotel to ensure I shut down with 0 emails in my inbox, and woke up the next morning at 4:40 a.m. to get in 8 miles on the treadmill, or treadmill, if you want to get technical. After a few minutes of running, I smelled the most horrific odor in the hotel fitness center, and not the normal dank mildew smell. 3 people even walked in and with looks of horror on their face turned around and walked out. But room to myself. The smell intensified as I started sweating, but I didn't stop running because I was training for my Ironman triathlon, my second. It wasn't until the smell followed me back to my room that it hit me. The scent was cat pee. And my darling Pele had peed on my sports bra before I packed it. Now, for those of you who don't have a cat, there is no worse stench in life greater than cat pee. You can't wash it out. I radiated noxious fumes like Pigpen. I was so obsessed with hitting the next mile, it never occurred to me that the toxic fumes were me. At first, I was mortified, but then I was proud. Nothing, not even the rotten smell of cat urine, can stop this athlete. It may not have looked like your traditional rock bottom moment, but it should have been. I was an average athlete, but I could train the hardest, longest, and endure the most punishment. Throughout my 20s and 30s, I competed in over 100 ultra-endurance races, each pushing the boundaries of what my body could endure. I set the bar higher with every race, hooked on the dopamine drip of anticipating each event. Yet no matter how hard I worked, I never felt a true sense of accomplishment and always was looking for more. Do you have anything in your life right now that is never enough? No matter how hard or how often you work at it? Maybe you aren't using cat pee perfume, but can you relate to chasing an impossible perfection or always reaching for a higher goal, even when you can't define it? It's tiring, isn't it? My relentless pursuit of more carried over into my work as I traveled up to 48 weeks a year for almost a decade. I loved the grind of that tarmac treadmill, and I wore that road warrior lifestyle like a badge. Yet I rarely stopped to appreciate the gorgeous views outside my hotel window or make real connections with the people in the cities that I traveled to. Instead, I multitasked by eating all my meals before my laptop screen and stayed up late to make sure I responded to every email and checked every box on my to-do list. And at the end of every day, I felt like I worked all day and I don't know what I did. Been there? My marriage suffered because my husband just wanted me to be home to hang out because he liked me. But I believed I could give him the life we deserved someday after I reached certain milestones. After all, I was building a life for our future. I had all the right intentions, but I was pushing myself to the point of exhaustion and then secretly applauding myself for being exhausted. At age 39, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. It's a hypothyroid autoimmune disease that sounds pretty badass, but it's not. I also hadn't had a menstrual cycle in at least 4 years and was told I had been in menopause since age 36. Now, while I didn't miss the inconvenience, what woman would? The average age for menopause is 51, and going through it so early can put your body at risk for heart disease and osteoporosis. And maybe I failed to mention it, but I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in exercise science and wellness, and 9 certifications in fitness and nutrition. The irony was not lost on me. I was an imposter in my own field, coaching and speaking about productivity and wellness while failing to properly care for my own health and relationships. I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. And because of that, I fell victim to misinformation online and was an unwitting perpetrator of half-truths. I turned to well-meaning influencers instead of consulting real medical doctors. And for years, I spread the gluten-free gospel. I delivered sermons on completing all the tasks, and I promoted the doctrine of inbox zero. And the effects caught up with me. My type A, type awesome personality, I needed to dial that back. Begrudgingly, I retired from racing and slowed down my excessive exercise routine, shedding many tears over my lost identity as a hardcore athlete, even though I was mediocre at best. I traded my 9-to-5 to start my own business in what I thought would be a more manageable lifestyle. But that was really more like a 24/7. That business became my new purpose, or at that point, obsession. Seeing a pattern here? Over the next few years, I traded one fixation for another. My husband never went an hour without hearing about my work, and he said our date nights were like business meetings. Yeah, tax write-off. But I was working on my busyness, not my business. It does not matter how many boxes we check for losing sleep to do it. It does not matter how quickly we respond to emails or texts for doing it at dinner with our family or our friends. Being busy doesn't mean we are effective at what really matters. Being busy means we're not in control. I was getting burned out again, and it's not just me. A study by Deloitte found that 77% of people have experienced burnout in their current job. We're feeling this in an always-on, overloaded culture. Now, I can't recall a specific moment when my mindset shifted. But one day I realized that celebrating that hustle was now in my past. Teaching and living health-powered productivity became my new company and life mission. And over time, I made different choices. I only accepted speaking engagements that made real sense to grow my business rather than present to just anyone that asked. I got comfortable putting prospective clients on a wait list so that I didn't overload myself. I hired an amazing team of specialists, knowing that the money I paid them put peace in my pocket. I hired my very best girlfriend as my number 2, and it could have been a disaster. But instead has been the most fun decision I have made. I started weekly family check-in meetings and impromptu living room dance breaks with my husband. And I started doing new activities just for fun, like jumping rope and breakdancing. But you will not be getting a demonstration on this stage. Sorry. And then at age 48, something wild happened. I started having menstrual periods. After a decade of believing I was in menopause, it turns out I never was. My doctor went through all my records and found one note from years ago that said I had hypothalamic amenorrhea. most likely caused by my intense travel schedule, chronic stress, and excessive exercise. HA is a silent condition that affects approximately 1.6 million American women. It can cause heart disease, osteoporosis, hair loss, and infertility. It took 12 years for my body to recover from the deep well that I had put it in. I own that. I'm not the only one that has suffered the consequences of prioritizing the wrong things. I've seen it in my clients. Jada missed her son's winning free throw because she agreed to one more late meeting. Brad ignored advice to start exercising after a diagnosis of prediabetes, which then led to actual diabetes. And Kai agreed to head up a new market launch and committed to travel over the next 2 months, missing almost every opportunity to hold their spouse's hand during their chemotherapy treatments. All of these clients agreed they pursued the wrong more. Do you have something in your life right now? It's never enough. That you think that you can fix. Health, relationships. You think you can fix it once your more is reached, once your milestones are reached. Ask yourself, are your goals just boxes to check? Are they even your goals? Suppose a journalist were following you around, writing about a day in the life of you. Would they write that you're living in alignment with what you say your priorities are? Or do your actions tell a different story? What would happen if you erased all of your goals and started with a clean slate? You reflected on your life and thought about the life you really want to live, who you want to spend time with, how you want to work, and what you want to do. And made those goals sustainable. For me, sustainable goals now means that I don't schedule a meeting during the only time I can break for lunch. I actually step away from my screen and sometimes even go for a walk outside, yes, during work hours. It means I don't ride my bike in circles around my neighborhood for 2 more minutes to make sure I get exactly 60 in my workout. Instead, I dance more, even by myself. And it means that when my husband comes in to see me in the morning, I don't give him a half hug while I'm typing an email. Instead, I turn around, give him my full attention, and a real 2-arm hug. If you could erase all of your goals and start clean, what are the meaningful, sustainable mores that you will relentlessly pursue?